This episode of Finding Demo Surf Fishing is being brought to you by DS Custom Tackle. DSCustomTackle.com is a great website to go to. The Delaware team, they've got so many things in the shop, from rigs, floats, teasers. It's not just for Delaware. It's not just for Florida. It's worldwide. That website will take care of all your needs for building and just getting rigs set into a whole different one. It's more than just pompano. So many different species. Take a look at the site. You won't be sorry. Lots of good stuff in there. DSCustomTackle.com. Go take a look. Get your order in today. You won't be sorry. All right. New week, new episode. Hope you're doing well wherever you are. Fishing has been phenomenal, and it's just everything's going the right way. That's what we hope for. This week we're taking the digital I guess we'll go with the plane, make the journey a little faster. We're gonna head over to the east coast of Florida, and we're gonna talk with Captain Adam Morley of Genungs Fish Camp. Lots of different things we're gonna talk about in that program, or with him. We're gonna talk about the tackle shop, his guide business, a certain special program which actually is really cool. I really enjoyed getting to hear about it. I got to dig more into it, but the Litter Gitter program. And well, since we're taking the digital plane, we might as well take the digital boat too, because yeah, this is actually going to be really fun. I keep looking back at him in the back green room, and we're going to have a guest appearance because he's out fishing with somebody that's been on the show before. So you'll get to see a couple people. All right, without further ado, welcome to the show, Captain.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's so good to have you here. And hi, Mike. Sandman in the back there. Oh no, I lost that picture. Whoops, glitch on my side. Hey, look, it's Sandman. It's Mike. He's out fishing too.
What's going on, Demo?
That's
How's
good
it
to
going?
see you.
Podcasters, what's up?
Oh man, you guys go back and take a listen to his episode. It was a lot of fun. And if you're not following him, he's had a hell of a concert series. He has been quite a busy man. Well, this just is a cool happenstance. So we got Catchem out here on the boat. They're out there going after some reds. They're sitting by a school. So if we happen to catch a catch while we're watching, it's not going to be a bad day. Not even a little.
It's not going to be a bad day at all. Even if we don't catch fish, it's still not a bad day. It's quite beautiful out here. A little bit on the cool side.
You're in the office. It's rough.
The office view isn't too bad, is it?
No, not even a little. It's so much better than mine right now. Yes, absolutely. All right, so let's not burn any time. Let's get you right into it. Tell us your story and what got you into fishing.
So I've been fishing my entire life. I actually grew up here in Northeast Florida. I got my first fishing rod probably when I was 7 years old, and started fishing the Pelletier Flats here in Northeast Florida when we lived at Princess Place Preserve. And ever since then, I've just been absolutely hooked. I started working as a teenager at the Genungs Fish Camp, and years later, I actually had the opportunity, my wife and I had the opportunity to come back and kind of close that circle as the new owner-operators of the Genungs Fish Camp in Crescent Beach, Florida.
Definitely full circle.
Yeah, it was. It's really look back and think of when I was just a teenager, wrapping shrimp and making leaders in the back shack for the Genungs Fish Camp, and then years later, actually being the operator. That's been a really fun and humbling experience.
Well, you definitely know the ins and outs of the business, then, that's for sure. For starting that on the bottom and all the way working all the way to the top.
Mm-hmm.
Well done. What's your favorite thing about fishing?
Like you're looking at it, being out here, spending time with good company, catching fish. Catching fish is a nice part, but honestly, just being out on the water with the perfect conditions and watching that school of redfish just kind of swim by. It looks like they're actually coming back this way. Hopefully Mike's going to hook up here in a second. But just being in skinny water, watching these fish move through these creeks and through the flats, it's a rush. It's a true rush, and that's probably my favorite thing is being out here, perfect calm conditions, and watching a school of reds move right by us.
Hopefully, you're going to throw again too. I mean, I know you. You're just going to wait. I see what you're going to do.
I probably should. My rod's right here. I have it.
Go for it.
In my hand.
Yeah, audio's fine. We can still hear you. Don't.
Okay, good. I wasn't sure. I didn't.
Please
I didn't want
do.
the casting. If the audio picks up the drag zinging as I hook into one of these redfish, that'd be ideal.
I'll change the view if all of a sudden one of you hook up like that. I'll try to get it so it's zoomed in on them and be like, all right, here, I'll send you the clip. That way you have the always be recording thing. Nice. You're welcome, Yellow Tech. There you go. I'm using your I just used your thing. Okay. So while you're talking about that, let's nail into a fun one. What's a bucket list fish you still want to catch? Because I know you've been after this a long time in life and enjoying.
So a bucket list fish. I might be one of the few anglers that doesn't really have a bucket list fish because I've already caught it. I'm a very niche fisherman. I know what I like to do. I don't like to travel a lot to fish. I don't like to go to new places. I like my backyard. I like the Northeast Florida flats and what it has to offer. I don't have a huge desire to fish other places and target other species. I love skinny water red fishing. Like that's my jam. Now, if I did have a bucket list fish, it would be that snook that I lost down at Matanzas Inlet while I was with Mike last year. I still haven't got like a real good snook. I've caught some snook, but I haven't got any real big ones. This is kind of a little bit far north for them, but we have been seeing them moving northward, and we're starting to get them at the Matanzas Inlet with more consistency, enough to target them. So if I had to pick something, I'd say a big snook would be my bucket list fish.
Okay. That must have been a heartbreaker for the one that got off like that.
Gosh, like for the viewers that follow St. Augustine Sandman on YouTube, they probably know what we're talking about because it was caught on camera. He's got it posted on his YouTube channel. Like you could see the look on my face as this monster snook just rolls up on the surface and then throws the bait back at me. I catch the jig that it threw back at me in my hand, and I'm just sitting there, jaw dropped, looking at this fish I lost. Looking back, it's kind of funny, but I'm still crying a little bit on the inside.
It's fair. Absolutely fair. All right. Last one for this one, and we'll get into the quick piece here for you. Can you share a memorable fish? Anything memorable besides, well, hell, you kind of just did. I feel bad, but is there any other memorable surf fishing stories, including unexpected catches or challenging fishing situations that you came out with a win?
Well, let's see. As far as surf fishing, I don't do a lot of surf fishing, but a memorable experience there was actually with who was it? It was Brett, Mike Cook here, Jake. We all got together for catch him up with Kullen. We all got together as a group here in Northeast Florida, and we went out and had basically a father-son's fishing day on the beach. So that was memorable. Can't say that I caught anything, but it was memorable because we got to spend time with, again, good company and our kids on the beach. So that was memorable. A memorable fishing experience for me back here. Definitely fishing top water for redfish. This was years ago. Still probably one of my favorite stories. It's when I converted from mono to braided fishing line. I was throwing top water for redfish along grass line. 25-inch redfish comes up, just blasts this top water, and then buries itself around this oyster cluster. And I'm using braid, so it just wraps around this oyster cluster. I fight this fish all the way in with a 5-pound oyster clump, untangle the oyster from the line, land the fish, And like, had that been mono, game would have been over immediately. But for whatever reason, that braid held up with that oyster clump, and I've been fishing braid ever since. I've never gone back to mono after that. So that was a really memorable experience.
Wow, I would not expect that with braid off a cluster. That's impressive.
Yeah, and like, if you know oysters, especially live oysters, those a live cluster of oysters. They're basically living razor blades, and the fact that I was still able to get that in was, we're talking years and years ago. That I still remember that as just being absolutely amazing.
So you got red and oysters for dinner. That's kind of a nice win.
Yeah, gosh, had I been thinking about it at the time, yeah, like there was a good couple dozen oysters on that cluster. I definitely could have steamed those suckers up.
Okay, well, let's move into some fishing tips, tricks, and knowledge here. Now, I know, like you said, and listeners, listen, this is going to be kind of a mixture. This is going to be a little bit of surf and a little bit of skinny water. We're going to combine them here, and we're going to pass through it because I really want to get into talking about the charter business that you run, and the Litter Gitter program, and the and the tackle shop. So we'll kind of go with this. How do you plan your fishing trips?
Mike texts me and says, "Hey, you want to go fishing?" I'm like, "Yeah," and then we end up on a boat fishing. So, but no, in all seriousness, I don't put a lot of effort into planning the fishing trips. I've got a boat on the lift; it's ready to go. I'm kind of the king of short notice, in that
we go out in all weather.
we go out in all weather. Like Mike is saying, we don't really care. When we have time and we have the ability, we'll text each other. I've got a few friends that I'll text and be like, "Hey, can you be here in like 15, 20 minutes? I've got some time. Let's go fishing." But as far as like the best way to do it, you definitely want to check the weather, check the wind, know the area that you're going to be fishing. I know this area so well that regardless of the wind direction or the tides, I've got some spots that I'm going to hit that will usually produce regardless of the conditions. But for a novice, I would definitely recommend checking the weather, checking the tides, stopping into a local bait and tackle shop, seeing what they can do to increase their odds for catching fish the day that they're going to be going.
How do you adjust your tactics for fishing when the bite isn't on fire?
I'm super stubborn. Like, if the bite's not on fire, I typically am not. I'm just not loading the boat with fish if the bite's not on fire. I know a lot of guys will constantly change baits. I'm pretty much strictly artificial. It's got to be a real dry spell for me before I even consider going to any natural bait. So I'm typically throwing the Fish Bites Fight Club lures, paddle tails and curl tails. Those are typically my go-to. Skinny water lures is another local bait. I like supporting the local lure makers. They fish the local waters. They know the patterns. They know the profiles that the fish in the area are hitting, and they try to mimic that with their lure.
Okay, so the Fight Club lures, you're liking artificials. You were starting to say before I had to do the pause there with another loss. You like using the small businesses, and you were talking about in the shop there. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I like using the local bait manufacturers, the bait makers. Skinny water lures, even Fish Bites is local to us, even though they are now international, which is awesome to see. But I like using the local lure makers because they fish the local waters. They know the baits and the profiles that the fish are eating, and they're mimicking that with the baits that they're making. So I really like a lot of the local baits. Fish Bites is definitely high on that list, along with Skinny Water lures. Kiss My Fish lures. There's a few really good bait profiles out there from all those companies. Like I said, it's got to be a really tough tough spell, not just a tough day. I'm talking, it's got to be a dry spell for me before I start considering switching to any sort of live or natural bait. It's pretty much strictly artificial in this boat.
Oh, all right. And you can't go wrong there. Let's talk seasons real quick. Are there any unique challenges or tips you can give up for fishing in different seasons, such as our chilly winters and our dead summer beatdown of the humidity and hatred?
I can't relate to the last one. I love that weather, like the hotter, more humid it is. Love it. I love it. Honestly, the thing that I've learned most is that the difficult times are usually in the transition period before kind of the season changes and becomes more consistent with that weather. So as we are coming out of cooler winter weather, what I'm finding is that we're in kind of that transition zone, that transition period where the fish are on the move. They're changing their behavior from their winter haunts, like their hangout spots in the winter. They're moving out of the creeks that they're hanging out in the winter, and they're moving more out into the flats. We're still finding some in the creeks, but they're not super active as far as feeding. So I would say, while I may be stubborn in switching baits, what I try to do is I try to stay on top of that movement, those pattern changes. So when they start moving, the water temperature starts warming up, they'll start moving out into the flats. And while I've noticed a lot of people wait weeks and weeks and sometimes months trying to fish it like they fish the conditions like it was still winter, when the fish have moved to their summer or their springtime haunts before they move to their summertime haunts. So the tips I would say for the season changes is, if you're not catching fish in one spot that you've been catching them, it might be because you have a season change that's changing their patterns, and to go and look for other conditions, other structure, other habitat that they may have moved to. That usually produces fish for me. So if I'm like Mike and I were catching fish in this creek for months, and then it just turned off, and I gave it a couple more tries, a few days of fishing these creeks, and they just weren't there. We moved out to the flats and we started catching fish again when those fish weren't in the flats for those months that we were in the creek. So don't be afraid to change location, change tactics as the water temperature starts to fluctuate with those transition times during the seasons.
Perfect. Well, I'm going to do a bait check here. It's been about 20 minutes, so you can go ahead and throw for a few. You don't have to. You don't have to talk for a minute.
All right, let's actually before that happens, I think we're gonna move from the spot that we're at before the tide drops too much lower. Otherwise, this might be a really long fishing trip. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab the push pole and gonna push us out into a little bit deeper water.
Perfect. This bait check is being brought to you by Kids Can Fish. Go over to kidscanfish.net and take a look at the great things that they're doing for this industry and these kids and getting them out fishing. It is a 501(c)(3) federally and state recognized charity. They take these kids out to the camps, and what they do is they show them, whether it's a cast net clinic or a surf fishing or maybe inshore, they have these things set up. So they take them out, they teach some kids, and then after that, they give them the gear that they use that day so they can go do it again on their own. They're setting a huge, great, or I don't want to say precedent, but they're just building something brilliant. Not every kid can go out and fish, because we all know this is a little bit of an expensive sport. Or, hey, mom and dad, we don't know how to fish, but our kids want to learn. So, hey, this camp's designed to get them out there. You're building memories, having a good time. And parents, you're more than welcome to be there for these camps. They're freaking awesome. So if you go over to kidscanfish.net, take a look, you're going to see all the things on that. You can buy gear from there and it goes back in. All the money they get from you from these camps, from the redfish tournament in St. Simon's Island, all that comes back together and goes back into it so they can continue this mission of getting kids out fishing. Like they always say, more tackle boxes, less X boxes, helping these kids out. Kidscanfish.net. Go take a look. Make something happen. These kids will love you for it. I'll love you for it, man. Just do it. Such a good program. All right. Got your audio back. Sorry, I had to put. I always mute you in the background for that.
That's fine. I'm just smiling and nodding along because I love those guys over there at Kids Can Fish. We actually had one of their camps down at our fish camp, Genungs Fish Camp, and I thought I was getting a bump there for a second, but one track mind. As soon as I start feeling I get a hit, everything stops.
Fair. That requires 100% in my opinion. And when you do that, I will either pause this thing or I will just sit here and watch quietly, happily.
Yeah, but we've done the Kids Can Fish camps down at our fish camp, and like it's awesome seeing the kids come down, the smiles on their faces. We've got the marina right at our fish camp, so we get to drop some lines in, and watching some of these kids catch the first fish they've ever caught and the smiles on their face, it's priceless. It's awesome organization. Love those guys over there at Kids Can Fish.
It's funny. Tom actually was just texting me in the background. I was like, or he was calling me. I was like, I'm recording. I'll call you back. All right.
Let him know I said hi, and tell him I hope he deleted the Nashville picture before it got spread too far. he'll know what I'm talking about.
And now that's on the podcast. That's going to be, what's he talking about? You don't need to worry about it. All right, let's talk about the guide business. What got you into guiding and doing charters?
So I actually got my captain's license and started my guiding career out of the Genungs Fish Camp where I worked as a teenager. So that's where, in another school of Reds. So that's where I got my start, and actually started the kayak fishing charters in the area back before kayak fishing was even a thing. We're taking just regular recreational kayaks, not fishing kayaks. It wasn't even really a thing then, and we were outfitting them with rod holders and shallow water anchors and all that. So that kind of got me into it. Like it was just kind of the natural progression. Working at the bait and tackle shop, selling bait, talking to people coming in, and like everybody asking, "Hey, like, will you take me fishing? Will you take me fishing?" And seeing that as an opportunity, started doing the kayak fishing charters, and eventually got my captain's license and started running charters out of the Genungs Fish Camp as a teenager. I got my captain's license before I even got my my diploma. That was kind of a funny thing, is that I had my captain's license before I even graduated high school and was doing charters, and it was great. I was already living the dream before I even graduated high school, and then I just kept it going for a couple of years. But I did get burned out on doing the fishing charters for a little bit, so I took a break, used my captain's license for other things, and now I'm back doing a little bit more fishing and doing limited chartering. But I am doing some charters now. I don't want to get burned out on it, so I don't want to make it too big of a thing. But taking folks out, catching fish, yeah, that's one of the things that I'll do down at the Genungs Fish Camp.
Very nice. How do you approach teaching and guiding clients with varying levels of fishing experiencing during the charter?
So I'll be honest. One of the things that I got to do now in order to keep myself from burning out, I enjoy fishing. I tell people this all the time. I enjoy fishing. I don't enjoy babysitting. So the charters that I book, it's usually after having a conversation with them in the bait shop, kind of getting a feel for what they know, their level of experience. Personally, I only take folks that already know what they're doing. I'm not the guide that you want to book if you don't really have much experience. There's lots of guides that really excel in that department, in their patience, shall I say, in baiting your hooks, untangling your lines, doing a lot of that type of guide work. When you fish with me, we're fishing together as fishing buddies. You're taking care of yourself. We'll talk about some of the things that we're seeing out there. I'll point out the schools of redfish, tell you where to cast if my line's already in the water. but I'm not doing a whole lot of babysitting, as I call it, because I want to continue to enjoy this. And I remember what happened last time when I was younger that burned me out on it. So that's where I am right now in my guiding career.
Hey, learning experiences, man. I mean, why make things painful and to make it less fun? It's not worth the aggravation.
Right.
Yeah, I'd get that completely.
But I still do take Mike out and babysit Mike from time to time. He's all right. He's getting there. He's getting.
Made a diaper change.
We've only been going 20 something minutes. You're doing okay. You got plenty, Mike. You'll be all right.
Yeah, man. We're surrounded by redfish. They're just not chewing.
Yeah, we're seeing redfish. Like the water's still clear with the cooler water. We're seeing redfish. Probably, I would say mid to upper slot redfish. Every couple minutes, they're passing us on the boat.
And if we were using shrimp, we probably would have been on.
You see that shade he's throwing? Like super sunny, yet I can feel that shade on the back of the boat here.
Well, we were talking about it. So before everybody freaks out, like, God, why aren't they catching? This episode is actually right after a very interesting cold snap that just slammed Florida. It's March 20th. So we just had, I know in the Panhandle, we hit in the 30s. How'd you guys end up? You guys get down that low too?
We're in the 40s on the water this morning, which was chilly considering like 3 or 4 days ago it was in the upper 80s. So like it was like the Facebook meme, the temperature dropped like somebody saw a state trooper. Like,
don't fall, Mike. Oh, if I get you falling, Mike. What do you got? Turning. What in the what? How?
That was this morning.
That was this morning.
Are you serious, dude? That is beautiful.
That was this morning here, and then I called him. I'm like, "Hey, man, let's go fishing."
Oh,
catching.
Yeah, so those are some of the unusually large bluefish that we've been getting in the area down towards Matanzas Inlet recently. We're seeing some 10, 12, 15 plus pound bluefish coming in the inlet, which is really unusual for our area. We're used to like 18 to 20 inches is a big bluefish for us here, but these, I had one at the side of the boat on camera, lost it at the side of the boat, but it was every bit of like probably 36 inches. Like it was a big bluefish for us.
Yeah. Well, and that's the funny. So that's where I was getting at. Well, when I was talking about that, if you guys have watched the show before, you've heard us talk about it. If you've been a long time angler, you kind of know this too. When you get a huge weather change like that, you get a big snap and a cold, fish are going to be like, whoa, what the hell? They're just like us. All of a sudden it's, no, I don't like this. They're going to go look for what they can to be comfortable, and they are going to lockjaw. That is very common. It's just a matter of getting it, they're going to eat when they're going to eat. You can put it right on their nose. If they're hungry at the time, he's going to say, oh, thanks. Appreciate you. They're not going to chase as hard, so it requires more work. So before you guys start coming out the comments saying stuff, it's work.
Can't catch fish. There's no fish
there. Man, yeah, you guys, and again, we're going off script here. Now we're into conversation mode, but I've had it new. I think I want to say the last 7 or 8 podcasts I've done, we've had a section where we've talked about how strange fish, strange differences, changes, and it's attributed to, hey, things are changing in the water, temperatures are changing, currents are changing. You can point your fingers however you want, but it's undeniable that things are changing, so you have to be able to be willing to change your tactics.
Yeah, you've got to adapt, and even when you adapt, like today, we're finding fish. They're just not biting. So even when you adapt, sometimes they're just, like you said, lockjawed. And I've found that it's usually 2 or 3 days for them to acclimate in our region, the Northeast Florida region, the waters that I tend to fish, the flats. They will be kind of turned off with significant weather or temperature changes for about 2 to 3 days before they really start to fire up and start feeding again. So but today just looked so beautiful. We had to get out here, knowing full well that it's going to be fishing with hopefully a little bit of catching.
Hey, that's just fishing though, isn't it? Hey, Mike, what did that bluefish eat?
Oh, top water.
Mirror, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't. It was a chug or something.
Oh, they went after the topwater, so he was really hungry.
Silver, chartreuse, and pink.
Nice,
Silver,
dude.
chartreuse, and pink topwater, right around sunrise. Kind of in that golden hour. You saw that picture that when you showed me that picture.
I hooked up one on a spoon too.
They love spoons. They love shiny things. They just love to attack. Bluefish are they're almost indiscriminate. Ooh. They just go nuts.
4 of those.
They got 4 of those blues this morning. I've been targeting them. I still haven't actually put one in the boat, so I don't have any pictures to show, but I've found them throughout the day, but they're just not real active. Like I'm sight fishing for them down at the inlet, but it sounds like the early morning bite, which I haven't done, might be the ticket to get them feeding a little bit more aggressively.
Yeah, I've seen. For me, it's the same. The sunrise bite, or right after the sun has gone over the horizon for the sunset bite. That's when I normally end up catching into the blues with a lure, whether it's a spoon or one of the jigs. They seem to get that way midday. I mean, I've caught them on accident. I think I might have just found one that was like, ooh, that looks yummy. But yeah, that start of the day, man, they go nuts. And that's what I found.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see here. What else can we ask you about that one? So if people want to do charters, because you guys offer the guiding and charters out of Genungs Fish Camp as well.
Yeah, we do. We've got a few guides and captains that we book for, and that includes myself.
So people can go, if you're good down in that area, you can go over to Genungs and you can call in. They've got a whole different set of charters. There's lots of things available. So definitely look at that. It's worth it, especially if you're traveling, because a guide business and that stuff, if you're out of town, you don't have to bring your gear. You don't have to learn areas. You don't have to do anything. You're going to go out with somebody that knows all these things, and you're going to be, you got a better chance of success than not. So, hey.
Yeah. And you will learn a lot in a half-day charter that would oftentimes take folks years and years to figure out on their own. If it's a new area, if they're not familiar with the area, you got to invest the time in learning an area before you really start to produce fish consistently. You might go out and you might get lucky, but booking a local guide who's been fishing the area a while, like, you're not necessarily paying for that trip. What you're paying for is the years of experience and the knowledge and the consistency in catching fish. And that experience alone is worth it.
Oh, definitely. Can't go wrong there. Well, let's knock out another bait check real quick, because I think we're gonna hit into a couple more pieces here. We'll ask a couple more questions about this, but then we're gonna get into the fun stuff. We're gonna get into the Litter Gitter program and into the tackle shop. So let's get that bait check. This bait check is being brought to you by the Sinker Guy. Oh, Chip. He's got fun things. Go to thesinkerguy.com. Take a look at all the stuff that Chip's got going on in the Sinker Guy garage. Sinkers, got you covered. Great Sputniks. It's my primary thrower, and I love them. But if you also need to get your hands on anything else, maybe you need to get your hands on rigs. He's got the Bruno, the Uno, the Fishing Mortician. He's got all sorts of fun rigs. Plenty of things in there. Floats, beads, the green Genung rigs. He's got it all. If you need supporting equipment such as scissors, pliers, clips, all that, he's got it in there too. Thesinkerguy.com. Go over there, take a look, get your order in today. You definitely won't be sorry. You guys are having too much fun. I'm freaking super jealous sitting here. Like, it's like I could watch this, and maybe it's just that weirdness in me. I could sit and watch this all day. Just watch. Oh, people are fishing. That's nice. That's nice.
I miss you, buddy.
Yeah, I missed you guys.
Next time you come down, I'll get you out on the boat.
Yeah, I need to plan a trip, man. This whole working and adulting thing is getting way out of hand. I'm sick of it. Need to get a job that pays reasonably, like this job for working on helos. I need to find that in the fishing industry. Then I'd be like, look, life is really good.
Be living the dream at that point.
Oh yeah, that's why I can't do it. It's not allowed. So, all right, let's talk about the Litter Gitter program. Tell us about it and what it is and all about it.
Yeah, so the Litter Gitter is a program that I started, actually crowdfunded the original Litter Gitter going on 9 years ago, 8 or 9 years ago. And it was after I started noticing just a huge amount of trash in our local waters, impacting basically the water quality and the quality of life while out here fishing. Nobody wants to be on the water out here and seeing a bunch of trash floating by. So a few friends and I came out, did a little cleanup, got the idea that we could crowdfund a vessel just to do waterway cleanups. And so the idea for the Litter Gitter was born. We crowdfunded the first one and started bringing out volunteers. Would post on social media that we had trips going out, and folks would sign up, and we would take them out and basically just show them what's going on out on the water, and giving them a hands-on experience while we talk about water quality and its importance on the local fishery and such. And in the time that I was the captain for the Litter Gitter, we had collected over 50 tons of trash out of our local waterways. Um, I've stepped away from that. I'm no longer the captain. It's actually one of my proudest accomplishments is the fact that it's a program that I started years and years ago, and then I stepped away, and it's continuing to grow and flourish now under the Matanzas Riverkeeper organization. So they have it going. They've got Captain Silas is now the captain that runs the Litter Gitter program for the Matanzas Riverkeeper. But it's just really cool to see something that I started, kind of planted that seed, continuing to flourish, and people getting out on the water and cleaning up the waters that we are actively fishing.
One of the excuse me, one of the things people don't realize, and I mean, well, I shouldn't say it. No, I'm just going to be a jerk. I think a lot of people don't realize is litter isn't just from boaters or people like that at the day at the beach. It's not normally, it's not that. It's rainwater. The rain stuff picks stuff up in the street. It's the average person that throws that cheeseburger wrapper out of their car window or it blows down the street out of your trash can. It gets swooped up, goes down through the sewers, and then where does all that end up? It ends up in our waterways.
Yeah, a lot of people really don't realize, and that's one of the things that I learned while being the captain for the Litter Gitter, and something that I really kind of dug into. A lot of people don't realize and understand that the majority of the litter that we see out here in our waterways is actually unintentional litter. It's not from people intentionally throwing it out because they're jerks that think their mama's going to come clean up behind them. It's because they have used the lightweight plastics or the trash in the first place, and when they dispose of it, they put it into a garbage can. The pests, the birds that will pull trash out of trash cans, garbage trucks as they drive over bridges. Like, I've got videos from when I was much more engaged in the litter aspect. I've got videos of trucks driving over bridges and the wind just pulling the trash out. So it's the unintentional litter that makes up the majority, the bulk of the trash that we see out here. And the best way to really combat that is reduce it in the first place. Just because we think we are properly disposing of it doesn't mean that it's ending up where it should. Our waste management system is really kind of faulty in that it lets a lot slip through the cracks. And if we care about not being a part of the problem, considering reusables, using less lightweight plastics and trash that blows away and moves around easily, that's a big step in reducing the amount of trash that we see in our waterways.
Yeah, that unintentional side is, it's what gets a lot of people. And if you don't know, you just don't know, and it's understandable. I mean, how can you know if you don't? But those pieces for how it all comes into a giant cycle and circle is not something to think about in your 20s, 30s. I mean, I think about it now. I'm in my 40s, but it's just there. It just kind of happens as you grow. But you can plant that seed like Captain did here. I mean, you plant it once and then you plant it on a younger person. Now you know what's going to happen. That's going to grow with them. That's going to become something for them to go, hey, that's something I need to think about. We can only make things better for ourselves. We're not saying be tree huggers like me. I like trees. I'll hug them. But it matters.
Too much sap. Too much sap on the trees in my area. I can't hug them, otherwise it gets a little sticky.
Mike, is that your lure popping back out there in the front, or is that something floating?
Stick? Oh, yeah.
It's a stick.
That's a stick.
I was like, well, some red's got a wish that it wants to be caught.
There's that mullet.
Big school mullet just passed us.
That's bait.
Now we are coming up on a creek bend.
On this boat, Demo.
Yeah, that's not bait
right.
on this boat. We don't do that on this boat.
He's like
The best part.
He'll bite the head off before you.
I think it's more entertaining for that part. Like, no. I mean, if we had this, maybe we would. This is perfect. So the Litter Gitter has done really well, and now it's Matanzas River Keepers. They're running it, and they're doing that, and it's shown. So you've seen this when you started to where it is now, even though you're not running that anymore. You've seen a positive impact.
I have, and it's been great to see like hundreds and hundreds, probably even into the thousands of people now that have been out on the Litter Gitter, participating in the waterway cleanups, learning about the impacts that basically pollution has on our waterways and the fisheries. So yeah, it's really cool to see that, even though I'm not active with as the captain anymore of the Litter Gitter, the Matanzas River Keeper, which is part of the Waterkeeper Alliance, the river keepers throughout the nation, really, they're doing a great job continuing on those efforts and more. Like they have the resources and everything to do an even better job. So it was nice to be able to hand it off to somebody that was able to grow it even beyond my capacity.
Well done. Good job on starting it, and congratulations on how it's become something so big. And you did something great, man. And you're just
I did something.
Add it to the list of things you're winning at, because you're just crushing it. That's perfect.
Intentionally crashing us.
Mike says he's intentionally crashing us.
Is that just payback? Oh no, that's paint.
I think it's because we're getting back into shallow water on a little sandbar, and he's trying to stay in the channel, which goes under a mangrove. But
I'm just bored.
He says he's just bored.
Oh.
I was trying to give him a little bit of like skill credit here, but
well, I was trying to do that, but we are gonna have to push pole.
So we're gonna have to push pole here again for a minute, because tide's going out. Here we have about a 6-foot tide change every 6 hours and 12 minutes. We are on a falling tide back in this little tidal creek. Usually do pretty well on the last of the outgoing tide in these creeks. It's not producing today, but the thing about fishing like this is if you're not paying attention to where you are in the tidal cycle, you may end up stuck in a creek for a little bit longer than you were hoping.
Well, while I'm doing, in that case, I'll do a bait check. You guys do some polling. How about that? We'll get you out of that, so you're not stuck all day. Oh boy, nothing good's gonna come from that. We'll let them do their thing on the boat and make sure that they don't get stuck for 6 hours making a phone call saying, "Hey, I'm gonna be late. Can you airdrop me a peanut butter and jelly?" We don't want that one. So without further ado, let's go ahead and knock out another bait check. This bait check is being brought to you by Ninja Tackle. NinjaTackleVA.com. The Ninja Dagger series. Oh, I love those rods. The 7-footer, you guys know I love that travel rod. Stays with me in the car. You can get it with the 2 different tips that comes with it. So you got a bigger and smaller. It helps out with different weight ranges and stuff fun to throw. The bummy sticks, the little bummy, great range series. And you can get the Ninja series all the way up to 13-footer right now. So lots of different sizes in there. If you need to get your hands on any kind of bait, maybe you got artificial, he's got it in there. If you need line, reels, all that sort of stuff in there. It's almost a one-stop shop. If you're into firearm accessories, yeah, you can get your hands on it with the Ninja Tactical series. If you need pieces for Glock, any of those ones, there's a lot of different accessories. Lots of good stuff in there on NinjaTackleVA.com. Go take a look. You definitely will be set up for success. It's all good. Okay, so now we're recording again because they were moving the boat. They were in a skinny water situation, and as you can see, we got Mike. Hi, Mike. Now, if you're watching this on video, Mike, show us the oyster beds because that's something people don't really, I don't think, see, and they know what to look at.
Something they don't see every day.
Yeah, because it's something we don't. I mean, I have never seen an oyster bed.
Hold on, we're breaking up. Are we good? Are we good?
We're good. Yeah.
Okay, on our end, it's kind of weird. But check out these oyster flats right here. We're about to fish these and get on some redfish.
Ah, okay. So when they're sticking out like that, you can see them pretty clearly.
Yeah. So at this tide, approaching the lower tides, the bars become exposed. We tend to fish around them. Anything that is not exposed is generally going to be just a kind of a soft mud bottom. So you don't have to worry too much about what's beneath. It gets real tricky when the tide comes in and those are just beneath the surface of the water. That's when a lot of folks end up basically running up onto an oyster bar and sitting there for a little bit.
Oysters are sharp. They don't do good things to hulls.
Or flesh.
Or flesh.
Especially flesh. They're not great for hulls, but they're really bad for flesh.
A sad truth. Well, let's do this. Let's get into the tackle shop stuff real quick. We'll get you through that one, and then what we'll do is we'll get you guys out of here so you can go fishing because you guys are going to catch a lot of fish here, and I don't want to be tying up your lines.
Well, we hope we'll catch some fish. Let me get this back in the mount. There you go. Hoping to catch some fish. It has been a tough bite so far this morning.
Got one.
Oh yeah, I did catch one. I got right before we ended up
of course
on the call. I got one little short red. So yeah, I did catch a fish today.
See, no skunk. And you know what? I am formerly the king of the smalls. My crown was removed at the last Kids Can Fish tournament. But hey, I always catch the small ones. I never seem to catch the big fish. I don't know why. It's just my luck. All right.
Catching is catching. I'm happy with anything.
So can you tell us a bit about the tackle shop, its history, and how it became a place where people are like, hey, you got to go there and you got to stop in?
Yeah, so the Genungs Fish Camp was actually established by Jack and Mary Jane Genung in 1948. And the fish camp, the establishment was family owned and operated until the late 90s, early 2000s, when the family sold the property to a local group of really neighbors in the neighborhood of the fish camp who wanted to preserve it as the old Florida fish camp that it is. So they pooled their money, they purchased this fish camp and has been basically leasing it out to different operators over the years. But they couldn't really keep it going. Each operator would last a couple years and then it would turn over, last a couple years and then turn over. Because I had my foot in the door from working there as a teenager, I would get these calls every couple of years. Hey, do you want to own the bait shop? You want to take over and run the bait shop? And I turned them down a couple times, to be honest. I wasn't in the right place. Like we're doing too many other things, and I just wasn't ready to take on that responsibility of running the business. And then the last time that they gave us a call, which was about 7.5 years ago now, my wife and I talked about it, and we were like, you know what? Yeah, now's the time. So we came in. We are about to be the second longest operator there at the fish camp, at the bait and tackle shop. And it's just been a great experience. The number of people that come in that have been coming in since they were yay high, holding a hand up to their knee, and they would tell us stories about how they've been coming to this fish camp since they were children with their grandparents. And to hear them come in and tell us stories, and we've got a bunch of the old historical pictures that they took back then, the black and white photos of the fish that they would catch and bring in. So it's really cool to see generation after generation coming in. So now these guys, these people that are coming in that are talking about how their grandparents used to bring them in, they're bringing their grandkids in. And it's just a really fulfilling kind of thing to see for us, to know that we're part of that tradition, that family tradition of getting the next generation and the kids out there fishing. So that's kind of the history. It's been here a long time. People really like what we do, and the support's been great. We see them coming back with their kids and grandkids now too.
Very well done. Very, very well done. When it comes to tackle shops, why is going to your local tackle shop such a huge advantage when you're trying to get into fishing?
The local knowledge, that's one thing. Like we get people coming in, and people that don't really understand the industry, they're like, how can you compete with the big box stores? And the answer is simple. Like, the big box stores can't compete with us. We have what they will never be able to provide, and that is local knowledge and passion, and the selection of whether it's live bait or artificial, being able to tell you how to rig it, where to use it, all of that stuff makes us, and makes small local mom and pop bait and tackle shops absolute necessities in the fishing community, because you could be the best angler in your lake up in Michigan, but if you come down to visit Florida, it's a completely different world, and you need some of that local knowledge. You may know how to cast a line, you may understand the gear, but when it comes to the actual bait and tackle that you need to produce fish down here, you're going to need that local knowledge, or you're going to need to move down here and spend years on the water figuring it out for yourself. So coming into a local bait and tackle shop, you're able to really get a lot of information in a very short period of time. And that's the advantage to coming into a local shop versus a big box store.
And Genungs does, you also host camps like we talked about with Kids Can Fish, and you also host other events as well at the shop. So what are some of those that you do host, and what are they about?
Yeah, so we do a lot of different events at the fish camp. As we mentioned, the Kids Can Fish will host, actually I think one's coming up in April. One Sunday in April, we have the Kids Can Fish coming down hosting a camp. But we also do oyster roasts and fundraisers for different local nonprofits, which has been great. So we're really a community. We're so much more than a bait and tackle shop. The bait and tackle shop is a big part of who we are. It's kind of our day-to-day foot traffic business, but we're really a community hub where we've got a great venue space right on the Matanzas River that we host events for different local charities, local nonprofits, and so some of those, and it's not always fishing related. We just had one for the St. Johns County Homeless Coalition. They did a fundraiser. We do it for the Matanzas River Keeper, and just Epic Cure, which is another one that does regular events with us. They do feeding the less fortunate folks. So there's a lot of organizations that really benefit from our fish camp. Essentially, it's a great little community hub that's so much more than just fishing.
That's awesome. Well done. I mean, you're just building it up. That's great. It keeps you together with that one and really helps. So I mean, you nailed 2 more questions. You nailed the education pieces and the community pieces. Well done. But the other one I didn't talk about. So let's talk about the bait side of it. At your tackle shop, like you said, you've got bait and tackle. What kind of bait do you carry?
So even though I don't use anything except for artificial, we do have a large selection. We try to keep the largest selection of live bait in the area. We're consistently carrying live shrimp, mud minnows, sand fleas, fiddler crabs. We try to carry finger mullet when they're in the area, pinfish, croakers. A lot of our bait can be seasonal. Like the last half of that list is very seasonal. So depending on the time of year, it may be easier or harder to catch. But we do have a large selection of those live baits. We'll also do some of the frozen baits and fresh dead shrimp as well. And then because our passion tends to lean towards artificial, we've got a great selection of artificial baits as well that we are always talking about and recommending to people who may not be interested in the live bait options.
All I see is Mike. Like I can almost see the thought bubble above him. We just had a piece of shrimp right now.
Yeah, he just said he's had 2 bites and that he's missed, which is kind of par for the course for us. Like we do miss a few fish here and there before we put something in the boat.
That's normal. Plus, I'm a little bit of a curse today. So as soon as we hang up, you're gonna end up hooking up on like 4. It's gonna happen.
Oh yeah, we'll probably end up sending you like some video and some pictures of like in the next 10 minutes after we are done of the fish that we caught.
It's very standard. So you've also talked. So we talked earlier about the litter getter, but there's also other conservation efforts. What are some other things that Genungs is involved in when it comes to conservation?
So there's a constitutional amendment that is making its way onto the ballot for 2026. So it's a little ways out. It's the right to clean water, which it did not get enough signatures this last time around. So they pushed it out to 2026 in order to obtain enough signatures to get on the ballot. But that's a really, really important amendment that we need to get on the ballot that protects everybody's right to clean water in Florida. The reason it's important is right now there's really no teeth or enforcement of a lot of the pollution regulations and the clean water standards that we have, but there's no enforcement on maintaining them. So this ballot initiative will give people the ability to hold the state and hold legislators accountable for clean water issues. I just read, for a lot of folks in South Florida, they already know this, but I just read today that one of the gypsum mines down in South Florida since December has had a tear in their in the lining for the gypsum mine, and they don't know how much radioactive wastewater has leached out into the estuaries and the aquifers down there since December. Chances are nobody's going to be held. Probably got that cast on video. We're just going to need to edit that one out.
Didn't see anything. I can't see your hands, so it doesn't. You could have just been like, "Oh, I'm just flipping with this." But now we know.
But being able to hold polluters accountable when they're impacting the health of our fisheries and for many our livelihoods, like my livelihood, whether it's as a charter captain or as a bait and tackle owner, like clean water is the economic driver to the state. It is so essential, and making sure that that protection for clean water is enshrined in the state constitution, I think is paramount. So that's one thing that we are active in and continue to be active in is the right to clean water amendment that's coming through in 2026.
Nicely done. Makes sense. Total sense. Last two questions here, and then we'll actually 3 questions, and we'll get you out of here.
All right.
As the sport of fishing evolves, what trends do you see emerging in terms of tackle techniques and angler preferences?
So in the 20 plus years that I've been fishing here, I will say, and I'm proud to acknowledge the shift in how people view and really just participate in the sport in general. I'm seeing fewer and fewer what I would traditionally call meat haulers, people that just want to load the boat, like charter captains that would historically just load the boat, even though there is no use for the fish after their clients go home. They can't bring all of this fish home with them. They're down for a couple days, took a charter, have a cooler full of fish. I'm seeing a lot more guides understanding and realizing that catch and release is just as beneficial to in fact, more beneficial to their business and to their livelihood, because these fish can be caught many times in this estuary. There's fish out here. It's a resident population. We know that we're catching the same fish from the same schools for all season long. And as soon as we remove those fish from those schools, that's one less fish that we could put a client on. So I'm seeing a lot more guides shifting to more what I would call sustainable practices in the fishing industry, which is great because it also leaves more fish for the average recreational fisherman and my clients that come into the bait shop to be able to catch fish when they go out. The other trend, artificial, is taking off compared to 20 something years ago. Over the years that I've been out here, it really has shifted from all these people coming in, always buying live bait and not a large demand for artificial, to seeing a significant shift in the number of anglers that are shifting to artificial. So those are the two things that I would say trend wise, I'm on board with. I'm here for it. I love seeing conservation practices, catch and release, and the number of people using artificials.
And the artificial industry has really upped their game. I mean, it's not just what it was when we were kids. You know, we've seen so many good ones. Fish bites, perfect example. So much scent coming from it the entire time you're launching it. Biodegradable, except for the glitter. That's the only thing they said. If you got glitter in it, that's the only piece. But it's just a ball of scent that you can continue to send for hours and hours. And even after it gets hit, it's still just fine.
Yeah.
You did that the other day.
Oh yeah, he's reminding me the other day. I think I caught like 7 something fish on the one fish bites bait before it was a little bit too raggedy to
and lost 3
and lost 3 before it was time to change bait. So like people, I don't think they understand that it's artificial's cheaper. They look at a bait and they're like, wow, that's really expensive. It's like, you're paying $4.50 a dozen for shrimp, and those shrimp are gone like that. Whereas you pay $6.99 for a pack of artificials, and you're catching fish for a week. So
easily.
The cost per fish comes way down when you really look at it with artificial. Like you're catching several fish on one piece of bait or on one artificial before you need to change it out or before you lose it, and that adds up. Whereas live shrimp, one hit, if you catch one fish per live shrimp, you're doing really well.
Yeah. If you were 1 for 1 on shrimp, well, dude, you just go ahead and call into the tournaments. You are, for lack of better terms, the man or the woman. You are the king. You nailed it. Oh, that'd be so nice. Not gonna happen.
We're not gonna happen.
Last one on this one, and then we'll get you the last 2 questions. How do listeners find your tackle shop online and access to promotions, services, products, all the things with the charter businesses, all that together?
Yeah, so website's probably the easiest way to go, and that's genungsfishcamp.com. spelled Genungs, fishcamp.com. It's got all of our contact information there. You can give us a call, shoot us an email. It's got the address. We are here in Crescent Beach, just south of St. Augustine, Florida, and it's a cool little spot, even for those who don't need any tackle, just to come down and check out the spot and the water, have a drink on the bank of the Matanzas River, and hang out.
Perfect one there. All right, last two questions. What knowledge would you give to a brand new angler starting out?
I would say be patient and don't give up. Like, fishing is a lot about patience, but visit your local bait and tackle shops. Go in, talk to them. I've heard that you will have varying experiences depending on the different shops you go into. So if you don't have a great experience at one shop, don't write it off as the industry is like that. Stop in at other local bait and tackle shops, and you'll find the one that you kind of vibe with, you mesh with really well. You like the person behind the counter. They're helpful, they're friendly, and just talk to them. They're going to be able to give you a lot of confidence, a lot of advice, and really put you on some fish. And that's really what it's all about, is having an enjoyable experience. So if you have a bad experience at one shop, try another shop. Don't think that it's that way at all of the shops.
Well put indeed. All right, last question for you for this one. What's next for you?
I think a lot of the same. I'm going to be out here fishing quite a bit. We're going to be running our bait shop. My wife and I are going to be running the bait shop. We also have a new shop opening. It's not a bait shop, but it's going to keep us busy either way. But really, just a lot of the same. What you're seeing and what you've heard so far on the podcast, where water conservation issues. We're going to be fishing, catching fish, slinging bait out of the tackle shop, and living the dream here in St. Augustine, Florida.
That's good stuff, Cap. Adam, thank you so much, man. I appreciate this. You guys, Mike, good seeing you. Always fun having you around, buddy. I look forward to seeing you when you come over to the Panhandle.
Thanks, listeners. Thanks for watching.
But thank you so much for coming on. Everything you've been doing, you've done a hell of a job with all the long stuff from the past to where it is today. Thank you for building that. Thank you for making this what it is. And I appreciate you. I look forward to coming over there and actually seeing you face to face when I come over to the East Coast.
Absolutely. Appreciate you having me.
All right, so you take care. We'll see you next time.
We'll see you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, there you go. We just talked with Captain Adam Morley of Genungs Fish Camp out the East Coast on Florida there. Lots of cool things. You'll be able to find all his stuff. The website, it's going to be linked back to the tackle shop. You'll be able to find that. It'll be on findingdemosurffishing.com, and it'll probably also be on wherever you found this podcast on social media. All of that will be put together. You've been listening to Finding Demo Surf Fishing. Thanks for being here. Take care of yourselves. I am out of here.